Ben 10 is a classic cartoon and one of the most loved ones. It consists of 4 seasons and 52 episodes. So, in this video we are going to talk about Ben 10 from the beginning to the end. Watch until the end and you'll find out what alien was Ben's loved one. Let's start with a short backstory. It all started thousands of years ago. One night, Azimuth on Galvin Prime planet with his girlfriend Zenith were hanging out. Suddenly, he noticed that the solar system was following continuously, which inspired him to create a sword. Zenith broke up with him because he was so caught up in his work and didn't draw his attention to her. In the war between planets, a knight stole the sword, which eventually destroyed his planet. Azimuth got it back and took it to Earth during the Medieval Ages war against aliens. He gave it to George on Immortal Night, and he defeated the aliens using the sword. That was the creation of the Forever Knight who protected the Earth from aliens. Azimuth decided to create the Omnitrix to bring peace and apologize for what he did. He collected all the aliens' DNA on another planet Xenon and put it inside the green stuff. He sent it to Earth to the best plumber. But unfortunately, Ben got it. And that's where we begin the first season of Ben 10. Wilgex, having received the signal from the clock, sent his robot to Earth to quickly solve the problem with Ben. But the young man quickly realized how the mechanism works and turned into a heat blast. The fight wasn't long, and Ben easily defeated his opponent. Ben discovered he was being hunted by 3 aliens. The first a crustacean-like crab, the second a mechanical killer 6-6, and the mysterious hoverboard. They were hired by Wilgex to retrieve a prototype clock. The experienced and powerful mercenaries threw Ben's aliens their first real tests. Luckily, Hoverboard is a double agent working on the side of good to make sure the Omnitrix doesn't fall into their own hands. Unfortunately, he's not too pleased that Ben is treating the most powerful weapon in the galaxy like a toy. 2 days later, Ben made friends with a boy named Kevin who has the ability to absorb. Kevin suggested switching the track arrows so that trains with passengers and money collide, and in the result, they would get a lot of money. But Ben disagrees and starts fighting him. Kevin absorbs Ben's energy. Ben, after hard fights against Kevin, almost defeated him, but Kevin tricks Ben and escapes. Ben got in a fight with some criminals that led to his grandpa getting injured and going to the hospital. Wilgex also hired some criminals to get the Omnitrix, and while the soldiers were fighting with Ben, Wilgex communicated with Ben for the first time. He told him that there is no escaping even after he defeated his man. Hex, another villain, from whom Gwen got a charm after Ben defeated him. Amulet made her super lucky and therefore she decides to become a superhero. But suddenly, Hex attacks them again. In the end, the heroes defeat him and destroy the amulets. So Ben and Gwen decided to chill out and go to a water park. There, Ben transformed into grey matter and couldn't go back to his human form. He was then kidnapped by a stranger who's obsessed with space. So then we see Forever Knights for the first time. This stranger gave Ben to the Forever Knights, but Gwen and Max saved him. Later, we see Wilgex, who showed up and attacked Ben. Because, again, he wanted to get the Omnitrix. He kidnapped Ben and tried to remove the watch, however, he couldn't. Max went to Mount Rushmore to get some secret weapons from an old secret base that he used in the past to save Ben. In the meantime, Wilgex kept trying to remove the Omnitrix until Max debarks into the spaceship using his van. Fought Wilgex, defeated him, destroyed the spaceship and saved Ben. But don't relax, because he'll be back in future episodes. Season 2. After defeating Wilgex, Max revealed all of his secret past to Ben and Gwen, and that he was one of the plumbers, which was the organization that deals with different situations on Earth. Ben and Gwen meet Max's partner, Phil Billings, who is still working at the organization. It turns out that Phil was a scammer and used a device that brought aliens from another dimension. He hunted them and then sold them for money. Our heroes taught him a lesson that he will always remember, that you can't do things like that. After that, crimes increased and they were committed by aliens that looked like Ben's, only to discover that it was actually Kevin trying to set him up with the police. They got into a fight on the Golden Gate Bridge that ends with Ben defeating Kevin but not finishing him. Because of anger, Kevin turned into a freak of all the aliens and couldn't return to his human form. They fought again, but Kevin ended up losing and falling from the bridge. After some days, Kevin came back to get revenge on them, and while fighting again, they got kidnapped by aliens to be used in ring fights. The two had to collaborate with each other to escape the spaceship and kill its leader while chained together. In the end, and while leaving the spaceship, Kevin tricked Ben and tried to kill him, but he escaped, left him on the spaceship and went back to Earth. Ben and Gwen continued their adventures across the country while fighting villains. Ben also managed to get some new aliens. In one of the adventures, they arrived at a camp and found a twin who was the last one in the camp. Ben fought living plants and saved all the kids that disappeared, and it was there when Ben transformed into a wild wine. The Forever Knights also came back to get an antique mask, by which they can get to the Maestrona's sword. Hex came back after getting freed by Charmcaster just to get revenge on Gwen and Ben. At the same time, Gwen got a bracelet from a witchcraft museum that made her once again a lucky girl. The bracelet had the charms of Basil on it. Hex wanted revenge and to get his charms and power back, but after a fight with Charmcaster, she tricked him and wanted to get all the power to herself. Gwen managed to defeat her and destroyed the charms, of which one was clearly still working. After some days, Ben was starting to have these weird and terrifying nightmares. In his nightmares, the ghost even threatened Ben by possessing Gwen and trying to throw her off the building. After a long fight, Ben figured out that the sun is the only way to defeat the ghost freak and finished him. In the final episode of Season 2, Kevin freed Wilgax to defeat Ben together. At this time, Ben's clock malfunctioned and he transformed into different characters. Realizing that Ben is too powerful, they decide to fight against Grandpa Max. He opens a portal and sends the monsters into zero space. However, they manage to take Ben with them. Gwen decides to save her brother and goes to zero space. As a result, they trick the villains and leave zero space, leaving them there. They also keep the Omnitrix with them. Season 3. In the next adventure, they were on a desert road and reached a village where locals were celebrating Christmas. The dwarves kidnapped the heroes. They turned Max into a Santa Claus and children into dwarves. Luckily, they managed to get everything back to normal. While they were driving back home, they met a wolf-looking creature that tried to attack them. Ben was beat by that creature and started turning into a werewolf. It was actually an alien, and after Ben defeated him, gained him as one of his watch's aliens. They also go to a family farm life, but suddenly they found out that the cows turned into purple creatures. The reason for that was Snairo, whom they froze later on. Sometime later, they hear the news that NASA's space shuttle launch was cancelled due to a purple storm. So they went there. The heroes met a scientist called Victor, whom they discovered later to be helping Werewolf and Snairo to retrieve Ghost Freak, whose plan was to use the shuttle and go back to space to block the sun and take over the Earth with darkness. This action would allow Ghost Freak to transform all the humans to purple creatures. But after a hot fight between Ben, Gwen, Max, Ghost Freak, Victor and Snairo, the Tennysons broke the shuttle and went back to Earth. They did burn the ghost with the sunlight. They then continued their journey and meet Celine, who followed the Omnitrix location. We then discovered that this alien was Max's girlfriend in the past, and she was the one who sent the watch to Earth after getting attacked by Vilgax, and also found out that it was sent to Max and not to Ben. Then a robot tried to attack them, but of course they destroyed it, and Ben turned into Upchuck. Season 4. In the first episode of the 4th season, Ben was relaxing until he discovered he was inside of a dream made by the Forever Knights while they were trying to take off the watch. He woke up from the dream and neutralized them. Later on, Animo escaped from the prison and went to get revenge on Ben. But Ben turned into Ditto and defeated Animo once again. Then Hex came back to look for a way to preserve his youth. And at the same time, we see Max struggling with aging. Hex tried to get to the Fountain of Youth with the help of a young man, and while fighting Ben and Max, these two became children but still destroyed the Fountain of Youth and neutralized Hex. About 1 week has passed. Ben, Gwen and Max attended the wedding of Max's nephew, but the wedding became a mess when the bride and the groom's families fought. In fact, the two families had a long history of animosity, and bride's family were actually aliens disguised as humans. At this time in the future, Ben's son Ken is celebrating his birthday. He gets an Omnitrix as a present from his father. Ken meets a boy named Devlin. Ken takes his friend to a special section, where Kevin is being held. Devlin frees Kevin, and it turns out that he is his father. And it was Devlin who committed the previous attacks. Ben and Max come to Ken's aid. Devlin comes to their side. Together, they, of course, defeated Kevin. Then the kid's cousin named Cooper showed up. They discovered that the plumber's base was broken into in order to get the keys to the sub-energy that creates nuclear energy that the plumbers got in the past, and they protected it. It turns out that it was on Mount Rushmore. They went there, but they found all of their enemies together against them under the leadership of an ex-plumber, and of course Ben managed to destroy that sub-energy and assassinated them. Are you ready for the last episode? Summer vacation ended, so Ben and Gwen went back to school. Ben had to keep the Omnitrix in a secret, but the school got attacked by robots that also destroyed some parts of the city. When Ben went home, he found that Wilgax attacked his parents, so he had to transform in front of them and reveal his secret. Max, Ben and his father finally destroyed Wilgax and saved the city, and the whole city discovered his secret. By the way, Ben's favorite alien was a 4-arms. He turned into him the most times. It was interesting and hard work for me. Your support inspires me to make as many videos as possible and to delight you with new content. Like and subscribe if you wanna hear more cartoons lore. Stay tuned.